Listen carefully, Pisces. The moon is moving through your own sign this week, quietly bringing gifts you did not see coming, drifting toward the exact degree where it will turn into a full lunar eclipse on August 28th. So right now, you are standing in the middle of something, and skipping this video could mean missing something you really don't want to miss. The past few days may have felt like a roller coaster, like you've been swimming through illusion instead of truth, unsure which feelings were even real. That's not a coincidence. The middle is exactly where a hidden gift likes to surface, quietly, almost like it's testing whether you're paying attention. By the end of this video, you may realize one of these gifts has already been trying to get your attention for longer than you think. When people hear the phrase spiritual gift, they picture one narrow thing, a psychic flash, a prophetic dream, something dramatic. But that definition leaves out almost everything a gift actually is. A gift can change how you make decisions, how you read a room, how you recover from something painful, how you create, or how you quietly shift the people around you without even trying. And under this Pisces moon, there are 4 broad directions this can take. The first is a feeling gift. This is the ability to sense what is happening underneath a situation before anyone explains it to you. You might walk into a room and already know something is wrong. You might read a text message and know the tone behind it before you finish the sentence. This isn't about predicting events. It's about picking up on what people haven't said yet. The second is an imagination gift. This is the ability to see something that doesn't exist yet and hold it clearly enough to build it. A story, a solution, a version of your life that hasn't happened. Pisces energy is unusually good at this because it doesn't need proof before it believes something is possible. The third is a compassion gift. This shows up as an unusual capacity to sit with someone in their worst moment without flinching, without needing to fix it immediately, without making it about you. Some people can only tolerate other people's pain from a distance. This gift lets you get close. The fourth is a dissolving gift. This is the ability to release what should be released. Grudges, old identities, situations that have quietly expired. Most people hold on far past the point where holding on helps them. This gift lets go on time. Most people don't get just one of these cleanly. Pisces energy tends to blend them, so you might notice a little of each showing up depending on the day, depending on who you're with. What matters isn't sorting yourself into exactly one category right now. It's noticing which one keeps showing up more than the others, because that's usually the one asking for your attention first. There is a side to this that people rarely bring up, and Pisces is exactly the sign to bring it up. Because Pisces doesn't only deal in compassion and imagination, it also deals in boundaries, or more specifically, the absence of them. The moment you realize you're unusually attuned to other people, there is a real temptation to disappear into that ability. You start absorbing what isn't yours to carry. You start mistaking exhaustion for depth. Like the tiredness itself proves you feel things more than everyone else. You start needing to be needed because being needed is easier to trust than simply being. That is where a gift stops feeling like a gift and starts running the person who has it. Someone who is naturally intuitive can become someone who can no longer tell the difference between their own anxiety and an actual warning. Someone who is naturally imaginative can start living more inside the version of life they picture than the one they're actually in. Someone who is naturally compassionate can slowly lose track of where they end and everyone else begins. The ability itself isn't the problem. The problem starts when you stop having edges. A gift is supposed to widen your life, not dissolve the person living it. This is the harder lesson hiding underneath the softer one. Awakening a gift and being consumed by it are two very different outcomes, and this Pisces moon can surface both possibilities at once, showing you the ability and, if you're honest with yourself, showing you exactly where you tend to lose yourself inside it. One of the strangest things about a hidden gift is that it may have been sitting right next to something you've spent years trying to fix about yourself. The same underlying trait can cause trouble in one setting and become genuinely useful in another, which is why people often mistake a piece of their own ability for a flaw. Someone who feels everything intensely can become overwhelmed in situations that don't call for that much feeling. But that same sensitivity can make them the person others quietly trust with the truth because they can tell when someone is being honest. Someone who drifts into daydreaming can struggle to stay grounded in ordinary tasks, yet that same drifting can be exactly what lets them imagine solutions nobody else considered. Someone who cannot stop absorbing other people's moods might call themselves too sensitive, when the same trait can make them unusually skilled at knowing what a room actually needs. There's another version of this too. Someone who cries easily might have been told for years that they need to toughen up, when the same openness is what lets them notice the exact moment a friend needs checking on. Someone who struggles to make a firm decision might just be someone who can genuinely see every side of a situation, which is rare and often mistaken for indecision instead of depth. This isn't about pretending every weakness is secretly a superpower. Sometimes a difficult trait really is just difficult. The more interesting point is that the weakness and the gift often come from the exact same source, and what changes is how that source gets used. A strength without direction can look identical to a flaw. That may be why some people never notice what they're gifted at. They've only ever experienced the draining side of the trait, so they assume there's nothing valuable underneath it. But once that same tendency finds the right setting, it can suddenly become obvious why it was always there. One gift that fits Pisces especially well is the ability to let something go without losing everything that came with it. Some people go through a loss and only see what disappeared. Other people, even while it hurts, instinctively notice what is still left behind, the lesson, the version of themselves the situation forced them to become, the person they wouldn't have met otherwise, the direction that only became visible because the old one dissolved. That doesn't mean the loss was secretly good. It doesn't mean you owe gratitude for something painful. The gift is in being able to separate the damage from whatever can still be recovered from it. Some people survive loss. Other people learn how to make loss pay them back later, and that becomes a real advantage, because life doesn't only reward the person who avoids every setback. Sometimes it rewards the person who knows what to take from the wreckage. You may discover that one of your strongest instincts is looking at something that fell apart and asking what this taught you that success never could have. What do you know now that you didn't before? That kind of thinking can turn heartbreak into insight. It can turn an ending into information. And if this feels familiar, you may start noticing that some of what you once called your worst chapters were quietly handing you resources you're only now ready to use. Before the next section, drop a comment with the word current if this is already sounding like you, and I'll make sure to read a few of them out loud later in the series. Another reason a gift can stay hidden has nothing to do with the gift itself. Sometimes the people around you are still responding to an old version of what they think you're capable of. Family may have decided years ago that you're the emotional one who needs looking after. Friends may still see you as the dreamer who never finishes anything. Co-workers may only know you for one specific skill, so every time you show a different side of yourself, it almost feels like you're breaking character to them. The danger is that if you hear the same description of yourself for long enough, you start using it as evidence. You stop questioning whether it's still true. You begin filtering your own abilities through somebody else's outdated picture of you. People can know you for years and still only know the version of you they got comfortable with. That's why recognizing a new ability can feel strangely uncomfortable. The moment you become more capable, more perceptive, more decisive than people expect, there can be pressure to shrink back into the role they already understand. Not because they're necessarily trying to hold you back, but because people naturally prefer familiar versions of each other. And this is where outgrowing someone doesn't always mean cutting them off. Sometimes it just means their opinion no longer gets to be the final word on what you can do. Their old description may have been accurate for a period of your life. It doesn't have to stay the permanent one. This Pisces moon is not the end of the story. It's sitting in the runway toward the actual eclipse, which lands on August 28th as a full moon lunar eclipse directly in Pisces, which means right now is better understood as a discovery point than a conclusion. Something can become clearer today, but that doesn't mean you already know what to do with it. And that gap between recognition and action may be exactly why this stretch matters so much. You may start noticing an ability, a sensitivity, a way of reading people or situations that suddenly feels more important than it did a week ago. Maybe you notice you're unusually good at calming a tense room, or picking up on what someone needs before they ask, or imagining a way forward when everyone else feels stuck. But right now, all you really have is awareness. You can see the pattern. You still don't know how far it's going to take you. The moment you recognize a gift is not always the moment you understand its purpose. That's where the eclipse on the 28th becomes interesting, because it's landing directly in Pisces itself, which makes it far more personal than an ordinary lunar eclipse. It may not tell you what to do with what you've noticed. It may simply raise the stakes on whether you take it seriously. The cleanest way to know whether you've identified the right gift isn't to wait for some dramatic confirmation. You don't need a sign, a coincidence, or a moment where everything suddenly clicks. There's a much simpler test. The right gift should explain several completely different moments from your life at once. If you name an ability and it suddenly explains why certain situations have always come easier to you, why people from unrelated parts of your life keep bringing you the same kind of problem, why you sense things before anyone says them out loud, and why certain environments seem to bring out a stronger version of you, then you're probably looking at something real. Your real gift usually explains your past before it changes your future. That's different from picking an ability because it sounds impressive. If you decide your gift is empathy, imagination, intuition, or anything else, there should be a pattern behind it, not one isolated moment. Maybe people who don't know each other have all trusted your read on a situation without being asked. Maybe you keep noticing the emotional undercurrent in a room before anyone names it. Maybe you consistently become more capable, not less, when things get uncertain. Those moments may have looked unrelated at the time, but the right gift connects them instantly. A gift is often something you've already been proving for years without realizing it was proof. The most interesting part of this window may not be recognizing the gift. It may be what happens after, because the eclipse on August 28th, sitting directly in Pisces, isn't only closing this chapter. It follows the total solar eclipse in Leo on August 12th, and together they create a very specific kind of tension. Something has already been stirred. Something is becoming visible, but the reason for it may not be obvious yet. Recognizing your gift tells you what you have. What comes next tends to reveal why you have it. People often expect a spiritual gift to arrive with the purpose already attached, like discovering the ability should immediately hand you the instructions for it. Most real abilities don't work that way. You notice them in fragments first, and then something happens that gives those fragments context. Maybe you realize you're unusually good at calming chaos, and then a situation appears where someone genuinely needs that from you. Maybe you notice you can imagine outcomes other people can't see yet, and then you're placed somewhere that imagination becomes the only useful thing in the room. The gift doesn't get more real in that moment. You simply understand why it mattered. And there's another possibility worth sitting with. The gift may not be meant for the direction you originally assumed. Someone who thinks their compassion is only for comforting others might discover it first needs to be turned toward themselves. There's one idea that changes the entire meaning of the phrase, "the gift you're ready for." Because readiness doesn't always mean you've become more evolved or more spiritually advanced. Sometimes you were already capable of this years ago. The difference is that back then, your life had no use for it. An ability can exist for a long time without ever becoming important. You can be naturally perceptive, naturally imaginative, naturally able to sit with hard emotions, and if your environment never gives that ability somewhere to go, it can feel almost invisible. You might not even think of it as a gift because it's never produced a result big enough to make you notice it. That's one of the reasons people miss their strongest abilities. We assume that if something matters, it should have been obvious from the start. But some strengths are completely dependent on context. A deeply intuitive person can spend years in situations that never ask them to trust that instinct. A naturally imaginative person can live through a long stretch where nothing calls for imagination. Then circumstances shift, you enter a different environment, take on new responsibility, meet different people, face decisions you've never had to make before, and the ability that once seemed pointless becomes exactly the thing that gives you an edge. This changes how you look at your own past, because things that once felt disconnected can start making sense. Maybe you spent years absorbed in something that did nothing for you at the time, and now that knowledge is suddenly useful. Maybe a difficult period taught you a kind of patience that only becomes essential now in a completely different part of your life. The uncomfortable part is that some abilities don't become valuable because you improved them. They become valuable because the world around you finally changed to match them. Think about how many qualities depend entirely on where you happen to be standing. Being deeply feeling might exhaust you in one environment and become the exact reason people trust you in another. Being someone who questions everything might create friction in one stage of life and become the very thing that protects you from being fooled later. None of that means you were wrong about yourself before. It just means the picture wasn't finished yet. If you've made it all the way to the end, thank you for staying with me. Whatever this Pisces moon is helping you notice, don't rush to force an answer out of it before the eclipse on the 28th even arrives. Sometimes the important part is simply realizing that something you overlooked in yourself may finally have a real place in your life. Keep paying attention to what comes naturally, what keeps quietly proving useful, and what starts making more sense as this eclipse window closes. You don't need to have it all figured out today. You just need to stop dismissing the parts of yourself that keep showing up uninvited. The instinct you keep second-guessing, the sensitivity you keep apologizing for, the pattern you keep noticing but never naming. Something good may be taking shape from a part of you that was there all along. Thanks for spending this time with me. I'll see you in the next one.